everyone. I would like to welcome you all to this amazing call that we are about to have. This topic is very pertinent for a lot of people because we are going to be talking about taxes. And one of my favorite sayings that I've heard, and I can't even remember where I heard it from, it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. And so our expert today is going to give us some really good insights about that. But I was so pleased to meet Nadine. I think, what has it been, like 15 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
And I was a huge fangirl when I met her. She's just this amazing woman. She's like a competitive motorcycle racer, and she's smart, and she's in business, and she's kind of got her hand in a lot of different things. So she's going to be really exciting to have today as our guest expert. And because everybody's wanting to always know about, you know, how do we manage our money? And I work so hard for my money. How do I keep as much of it as I can and keep my money working for me? So Nadine is going to get into that with us today. And, you know, one of the things that's really interesting as I've been doing this interview series is people are so multidimensional. And, you know, Nadine is an expert on taxes and tax strategy, but she's been a successful motorcycle racer, coach. I think I saw you were a competitive volleyball player. It's just like phenomenal, like wrapped up in one package that you can do all these different things. And so I just really am glad to have you here, Nadine, because you're one of those people that you're amazing and you do all these things, but you keep on growing and educating. So I love that. And I think that's a good role model for the folks that are listening today. So let me just do a little bit of an introduction, and then we can get right to the conversation. So for those of you who don't know Nadine, she has been featured in Forbes, on USA Today, ABC, Fox, CBS Money Watch. She has a Bachelor in Actuarial Sciences. And she's also a CPA team-based model consultant. She's an international speaker and coach. She's obviously a real estate investor and a #1 best-selling author. So she's someone that we can trust to take some advice from. Nadine has worked in finance for over 31 years, and she now seeks new clients and businesses and employees to train and educate about the power of tax strategies. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So Nadine, you have this experience as a speaker, a consultant, and you're such an inspiring woman. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And that's really fun to reconnect with you for about 15 years ago.
And so, you know, just to share with everybody, you know, looking at your background, you have experience across like the full life spectrum. You've been an athlete, but you've also been, you know, a finance person, and you're not the stereotype, because, you know, a lot of times you think of like the actuarial finance guy is like the little chubby white dude sitting there with his spectacles. So talk about that. Like, how do you have both of these things going on?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Actually, you know, I talk a lot about dreams because my first dream was to become a musician, singer, like Celine Dion when she sang for the Pope. I hope she would be sick and I can raise my hand and I can be there. I was in the 10th row in Montreal. And so that was my first dream. And after that, of course, you need to go to school and decide what you want to do in life. And I was really good at mathematics and finance. And I'm really interested in economy and everything else. Like, so that's why I like the macro approach. And that was in 1989 to 1992, where the recession hit in 90 and 91. Mm-hmm. So instead of going out having 200 or 400% placement in actuary, there was about 20 or 30%. And instead of making $180,000, they were making $28,000. Oh. So my dream were crushed like right off the bat. Wow. I got a 1 summer job in actuary, and I was kind of not fitting too much, as you said, because it's a really and a lot of people said, what are you doing in actuary? You are way too much outgoing to be with us and all that. And I was organizing parties and 5 to 7 just to get the people mingled together and all that. And so, and finally, I never got a job in actuary. They called me back in 1998 from old resumes. 6 years later, finally, They called me back, but I was already in the finance business. I started as an insurance agent, financial planner, and I had something else, I don't remember. So I had 3 licenses at that time. And the reason I became a financial planner is because one lady said, you can work 4 days a week, having 4 weeks of vacation and helping people. So that's why kind of a sign up, no bus for me was at least $40,000. So at least I knew that I will be more creative, and that because I multitask, and we'll talk a little bit later, people really needs to adapt on everything. And I think that's one of my forte. Even if my dreams were crushed one after the other, I always kind of managed to bring all them back together. So now I'm an international speaker, best-selling author, and I'm bringing my music on stage. I always sing a couple of songs and all that just to entertain people, because the brain function on the left side and the right side, the logical and the creative. So it's why I think people needs to integrate more those two aspects of their life all together. Make sense?
It really does. And you're reminding me of a phone call. I can't remember when we had it, and we were talking about when you're trying to do all these different things and be adaptive, like how do you find time just to like be present and think? And I remember you telling me like, well, driving in the car is like one of those best times.
Yes, you remember that. Oh, that's cool. I bet I never listened to radio for like probably 10 years of. I stopped watching radio, TV, reading magazine, newspaper, and all that in 1999. So it's 21 years ago, 22 years ago now.
That's amazing. I sometimes use TV as my way to decompress, to turn my brain off. So that's one of my goals. I'll get there. So, we've kind of talked about that adapting and integrating. And, it even says in your resume that you kind of semi-retired at 36. So what kind of keeps you growing your business and helping people at this point? Because you don't have to.
I kind of semi-retired for 4 years, traveled 21 states, 10,000 miles, champion motorcycle racer, race on different racetrack, and driving my RV all over the place. And when I was around the campfire, playing my guitar, singing, and drinking my little port wine with my wine and cheese, kind of the French side. And I was telling my story that I wanted to commit suicide before the age of 25. And I started to get into that story that I called my mom the last day, and finally I didn't do it. And they said, oh my God, your story is so inspiring to go from suicidal to champion. You need to write a book. You need to be on stage. You need to inspire. And during that first 4-month trip that I did from Canada to the US, on my way back, I kind of get that spiritual awakening, right? That I really need to go to schools and inspire those kids when they are 14, 15 years old. I was so miserable. I was good at sport, good at music, good at everything. But when you have the big hole inside of yourself, you cannot deal with it. And because I had absolutely no reasons, and they often say you are alone at the top. Because I was good in music, the sports people didn't want to talk to me. Because I was good in sports, the school people, the nerds didn't want to talk to me. So out of the 3 gangs, I didn't have any appartenance to any gangs. I didn't have friends. I was negative all the time. And that's why when I got that spiritual awakening to write my book and all that, and I was kind of fighting with my little voice, no, I don't want to do that. I'm retired. I just want to go to the beach. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. But finally, that's why I started to write my book, Win the Race of Life with Balance and Passion at 180 miles per hour. And I compare a lot of business, entrepreneurship, business life, and motorcycle racing, because there are so many analogies. And being adaptable is one of the big ones. If somebody crashes in front of you, if life brings you challenges, you need to turn, and you need to keep your eye focused on where you want to go. And with those pictures and those videos in my presentation, it's really lively, and it's kind of fun.
I love that. And I like how you bring in your whole life. In one of my first books I wrote, I talked about how riding dressage was so much like learning to fly an airplane. And because there are, like you're saying, there's so many different ways that the brain works together. But so can I ask you to share though right now for our audience, can you share one powerful tax strategy just to kind of give people a taste of like how knowledge is power? And that's like one of the cool things, like as I keep learning more about tax strategies and money, there's so many things you can do if you just know, like you don't even know how to ask the question.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, because a lot of people, they don't want to talk about finance. You know, finance problems is one of the top 3 or the top 5 reasons for divorce and separation in couples and all that. But yet, they still don't teach financial literacy in school. They don't teach financial calculation, how to put your retirement together and all that. And all my life, even when I started to speak, I'm like, we need to educate people. We need to train people on those aspects. And the big one who was life-changing for me was the tax-free retirement account. I met a guy, like when I was in Montreal, I was only my 3rd year and a half. The guy was a multi-millionaire. I never got him as a client, but I was serving his wife. She had only $100,000 with me, was giving me $400 commission a year. I was servicing her, building a relationship. And after 3 years and a half, he said, my brokers has millions each, and they never gave me the service you gave to my wife since 3 years and a half. Here is $1 million. Come back in 2 weeks and let me know your strategies. I'm like all excited. And at that time, we have all kind of experts in home, like in the business. So I'm like, I need help, right? So I went to my mentor. They helped me to build my presentation for the tax-free retirement account, which I call always the TFRA. And I presented that to him on a 1-page sheet. And he said, I love it. He said, now you need to convince my attorney, my CPA, my son, my wife, my business partner, everybody. So with my 1-page Excel spreadsheet, I explained to them, at this time, this guy was putting $200,000 a year for 5 years. I was able to build a $10 million tax shelter for his $1 million. And at retirement, I was able to give him about 39% more money than he is supposed to with his mutual funds and stockbroker account and all that. Mm-hmm. And that client put me on track, because now the CPA and the attorneys at the end of the meeting, they said, hey, we love that. We got that explained about 10 times by 10 different advisors. We never understood the power of the tax strategy you are explaining to us. Here you go. Can we refer you client? So within a few months, I made over $200,000, got a new car, and all the guys who were betting against me, I will never last in that business, they kind of started to like me a little bit. They liked me as a person, but they knew that I was not a good salesperson. Right. And when you understand the power of it, and now even here in the US, the product I think are a little bit better than in Canada. And if you take that when you are 30, 40 years old, you can get up to maybe 80% more money at retirement, tax-free, non-reportable, non-declarable. So it's kind of your own little tax-free bank account. The only thing that people don't like about it is the first 10 years, you need to let it grow, right? It's not an account that you kind of get your money back within the first 10, 12 years. Yes. Because the money grows tax-free. So even if you are based on the stock market, you probably make an average about 6% on the index, right? 6% tax-free, it's almost 12%. So people don't realize how the exponential power of money and an interest rate, and that's what one thing fascinated me when I was in actuary, is that power. Like, hey, you put only $100 a month or whatever, and after so many years, you are a millionaire. That really stick to me. And all my life, I'm all about saving money, saving taxes, and I'm cheap like hell, right? I do fix and flips. I do fix and flip. I do my budget every single day, and I don't want to spend a penny more. Like if the plate is 57 cents instead of 62 cents, I will take the 57 cents. But it's a habit. And that's why I become millionaire at 41 years old, right? It's where you focus and when you do your budget and when you are conscious about money, that's where it starts to have shift and decision making in your life that brings you more money for your retirement, for your vacation, for your family. Isn't that why we are working so hard?
It is. And can you just talk about that a little more? Because I think you've really hit on that for the people listening is there. It's like this, it's the curve. And so for the first couple, like you said, the first 10 years, it's going to feel kind of flat, but then it grows. How do you get people through that mindset to go a little bit, just let it wait and stick with it, and it's going to work? Because sometimes people are just like, they want it now. And they're like, well, it's, you know, an annual review comes up. Well, I don't have a whole bunch yet. It's like, well, this is how it works. And this is how the math works. How do you get that point across to people, like to help them help themselves?
Again, my Excel spreadsheet, 1-page Excel spreadsheet. I give them 3 options and I show them, hey, if you are putting money for the first 15 years, and that will bring you that much revenue per month, because the power is really over the 10 years. It's kind of the first step. But if you take that money to give you 5% every year for the rest of your life, that will give you that much. And if you wait at 55 years old, or if you wait at 65 years old, so they really see, oh my God, right, a 5-year or 10-year difference makes a world of difference. And then the word of difference is really about being conscious about your money. People are overspending. They are buying. Years ago, I was scared to see the parents are buying $200 jeans for their 14-year-old girl. I'm like, okay, I wanted a pair of Converse at that time. They were $30, and that was no way, right?
Right.
And then my parents were really big savers. They were in business. My dad was a big poultry farmer, and my granddad too. But they had the entrepreneurship, and they were also in the transportation business. So it's why I got my entrepreneurship side from my family, and my cheap side too.
You're frugal. You're
frugal. Yeah.
So you kind of touched on this with your earlier story, but you know, I'm writing my book right now, and one of the big things, I actually have a whole chapter that wealth is a team sport. And I really believe for people that when you get yourself surrounded with all the financial experts, you know, that you have your CPA and your estate planning attorney, and you have all the right people, the healthcare specialists, it's a lot easier than trying to do it all yourself, because you have all these experts that can like see the gaps that you have or the holes in your plan. And, you know, how do you approach that concept with your people that you work with?
The people that I work with, actually, I joined a group a couple of years ago. We have 45 different tax strategy, 45 different tax experts. And in Canada, I was pretty advanced. I was in the top 10% in Canada in my field. And I always thought that I knew pretty much everything that was possible, how to save money and taxes and all that. And finally, when I started to go through that training, that was a 120 hours of training a couple of years ago, like you said, educate yourself all the time. I like to be on top of my game, on top of everything, every concept, everything that is possible. So when I discovered that group, instead of having them in-house like I had in Montreal, when I moved here in the US, I decided to take my license back only a few years ago. But I'm like, I really need that kind of team behind me that can help, because I cannot know everything. I don't want to know everything, and I don't pretend to know everything. But I know so many people will find you a solution. It will find you the answer to your problem. So when I built when I joined that 45 strategy, 45 different tax experts, I was in heaven. And during that class, I realized I knew probably 12 or 14 strategy, which is a lot, because most of the CPAs, unfortunately, they know only 3 or 4. because they don't have time to build tax strategies. They have time to fix up your mess in your taxes and get your paperwork out of your shoebox, right?
Right.
They don't have time to do advanced tax strategy. And that's what people don't understand. 92% of the CPAs are not equipped to help you on the advanced tax strategy. That is a survey from the board of accountancy. And the other stat is 78% of the business owners will change their CPAs in the next 3 years because the CPAs are not catching up. So instead of flushing your CPA, just bring me on board or somebody on board who can have access to those 45 tax strategies. Now we work as a team with the CPA as a CPA team-based model consultant. So we consult with the CPA, and I can probably do 70, 80% of what people need, like the regular people. But often I have to refer to the other experts. The other day, we are working on a strategy right now that's called a pool income fund. The guy has $1 million real estate. His cost basis is 111, which happens a lot here in California. He cannot sell the place, and when he dies, he will pay a lot of capital gains and all that. So we built a pool income fund. He will save about 79% of his capital gain.
Wow.
So instead of about paying $1 million in capital gain, he will pay about 259 or something like that. So these are amazing strategy. And when we brought that up to this client, of course, he needed to consult his attorney, his CPAs and all that. And now we are like we are about 4 people working on that case. So as you said, wealth is a team sport, and everything in life is a team sport, but especially in finance, because nobody wants to talk about it.
Right. And then, like, this is the thing I love that you're sharing this, because with my clients, I decided a long time ago, you know, when I started out, I was working for a company and we did everything. We did all the market. And I was like, there's no way one person can be good at everything. But one person can be the coach and the quarterback and bring in all the right experts to help make sure that we're maximizing. And it's interesting because people just don't understand. Now, you're doing really big, complicated cases. Do you have any strategies that work for, because I know I have a lot of people listening in today that are, you know, they're working good jobs, but they're lawyers, or they're working for the government, or they're, you know, they're pilots. What are strategies you can do, especially if you're in a W-2 kind of job? Are there strategies for those folks, or do you really need to get those folks to branch out and have some business entities so that you can really take advantage of strategy?
And that's a good question. Business and real estate is one of the most powerful tax strategy. That's why I'm in real estate. That big client, that $10 million tax shelter for $1 million. All my rich clients, they said, you need to have real estate either to get rich or either to save taxes, or both. Right? So this is a gimme. But for the regular people, if they don't want to branch out and having business or real estate, you can get a rental a year. It's not that complicated. We just need to know, and having the right people like me and people on my team. But the tax-free retirement account combined with the SMG, the safe money growth, is one of the easiest strategy. If people have $200, $300 a month, they can get that strategy. So it doesn't need to be that much. Instead of contributing too much in your 401k or your 403b, you just take $200-$300 a month. You focus that into that tax-free retirement account, including a safe money growth. So when the market goes up, you go up. When the market goes down, you never go down again. So now you protect your money. Mitigation of the risk is one way to save money, right? Reduce your expenses and save taxes. So those products are there to do 3 at a time. And with $200 or $300 a month, I built a case the other day. I think a 42 years old man is putting $200-$300, and at retirement, we will be able to give him 89% more money than if it would be in a regular mutual funds and stockbroker account. So it's pretty powerful. Like even 20 or 30% would be awesome. So the people who are older, like 55, 60, 62 years old, we are seeing probably more around the 30s and 40% more money, like in 10 years or 12 years. But for the young people, I saw a case 112%. The guy was like 28 years old or something like that. And it doesn't take a lot, $200-300 a month. That's about what we need.
I love that, because it's like I want to shout from the rooftops. People, there's things you can do if you just know. But but it all kind of backs up into this. It starts with trust and who your trusted advisor is. And I can remember in one of my training classes, this financial advisor was working with his client, and she had about $50 million. And the problem was she trusted her CPA more than she trusted him. And so when he would tell her things, he didn't have to convince her, he had to convince her CPA. And so how do you address that, establishing that trust? Because you can't just say, hey, just trust me.
Yes. And then that's why we need to have a CPA who is open-minded to meet with me first. If the CPA I work on a $2 million case, the CPA kind of didn't come into our 2 meeting calls, and at the 3rd call, everything flushed because I was never able to meet with the CPA. Right. And that's what the people needs to understand. 92% of the CPA are not equipped to do advanced tax strategy. So give yourself a gift and force your CPA to sit down with somebody like me. And that's why the team sport is so important. And I can guarantee you, when I sit down with the CPA, when I do that presentation, they said, oh, I have other clients for this. Oh, do you have a strategy for that? And now the CPA looks like he is the manager or the quarterback of everything. And he's just using me as a backup plan and is bringing the strategy to the client with the CIQ. We have a client information questionnaire on my website. This is a series of questions, and that brings us 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 different strategies. So now we can sit down with the CPA, say, hey, from this client, here are the strategy we propose. Okay, which one are we starting with? And now the CPA is involved with us, because if not, that will never fly.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. So before, we're almost out of time here. This has gone so quick. Before we leave, do you have like one bonus concept that you want to share with everybody right before we sign off?
One bonus concept is saving capital gains, especially here in California. It's really easy to have a $500,000 capital gain on their parents' house, that they own the house for so many years, appreciate it so much. So on a $500,000 capital gain, instead of paying about $240,000 in taxes, that concept will cost you about $65,000. So you pay $65,000 and to build that strategy and that structure, instead of paying the government $240,000. I don't know about you, but I love saving taxes. As less money as I give to the government legally. I want to be clear. Everything I'm talking about is in the IRS tax code, and it's all legal. And there is 63,000 pages, I think, in the IRS tax code. Yes. So this is legal, guys. It's not too good to be true, blah, blah, blah. We will show you the IRS tax code. We will discuss that. My CPAs will discuss that with your CPA, so they will talk at the same level. And everybody will be happy.
Well, and I just love it that what you're focusing on is the strategy, because I think a lot of people get focused in on the tool. So like an annuity or a mutual fund, and I'm like, those are just tools. Those are irrelevant. What's important is the strategy. And once we know where we're trying to go, then we can figure out the way to get there, because there's more than one way to get there. And so I love how you're really sharing that message, is thinking strategically first, and then you get down to the tactical level.
Exactly.
So that's wonderful. So Nadine, how do people get a hold of you if they want to reach out and connect?
Yeah, they go to my website, NadineLajoie.com. You have a questionnaire, a free report there. It's free. I will give you a free consultation, explain to you the basic strategy that can apply to you. And you will see that questionnaire is pretty deep. And sometimes we get some good surprise out of it. So NadineLajoie.com. And of course, you can find me on Facebook and everywhere on the net. You can Google Nadine Racing if you don't remember my last name or don't know how to spell it. So it's Lajoie, or Nadine Racing. You'll find me everywhere.
Wonderful. So, I'm very excited to hear about all your success that you're going to have. Nadine just gave you a couple of short tips. And the key concept I want everyone to take away is once you have a strategy, then you can figure out how to get there. And don't get wrapped up in trying to figure out, well, my friend has this stock or this municipal bond, or those are irrelevant. That's the last question. It's that big strategy. And so Nadine has just shared, like, how do you take what's available in the tax code? It's all legal. It's all available. And it's just, she's like a translator that can help you understand what's available to you if you knew how to ask the question. So in addition to French and English, you also speak tax code.
Yeah.
So, and you guys can see on the comments below how to reach out to Nadine. Don't forget to share this interview with any of your friends that weren't able to join today. And I'm really looking forward to sharing a topic with you next time. Cannot wait to hear about all your success, and I will talk with you later. Thank you, Nadine. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.